Okay, hello everyone. Nostradamus here, and I wanted to really talk about this past June. All right, and I go on this Prince website called Prince.org, and it's just pretty much talking about the artists and whatnot. And let me tell you the most hilarious thing that just happened this past June. It's just hilarious. Prince was on the cover or whatever of Ebony magazine, and then he was in Jet magazine, and then he ended up attending the BET Awards. And I was like, oh, that's pretty good. I'm glad for him for being in there. But here's the thing. Some white people on that website that I go on actually got mad about that. And I'm like, are you serious? You're actually getting angry about that? I mean, what is there to be mad about? He's just on a magazine. What's the big deal? It's a magazine mostly targeted for black people. What's the big deal? And then ever since, him being in those two magazines, everybody's questioning, oh my God, why is he on there? Blah, blah, blah. Somebody, said, because the first time he was on not Jet magazine. He was actually in Ebony magazine first. And everybody was, questioning about it and then got people mad. And then all of a sudden, Prince ended up being in Jet magazine. And this one ignorant person on there is like, oh my God, another black magazine? What does he have against white magazines? And I'm sitting here did they really just ask that? I mean, really? What is your problem? Are you, retarded or something? It's just a magazine that happens to be targeted at black people. What's the big deal? So, anywho, ever since, pretty much him being on, BET and then being on two black magazines, people started questioning, is Ebony magazine, a racist magazine and stuff like that, and it's discriminating against white people? And I'm like, wait a minute, are you serious? You're actually saying that Ebony magazine and Ebony magazine, because they were really talking about Ebony magazine, not Jet magazine. Are you really trying to sit there and tell me that Ebony magazine is discriminating against white people? Are you serious? And some person who was white, and I'm not saying all the white people on there were like that. There was just it was some of them on there who was just acting like that. But there was a few white people on there who was just oh, it's not a big deal. I mean, it's just Ebony magazine, so what? And there has had some white people on there, which I knew, but I didn't really know. And there was at least there was 3 white people on there who actually got it. It's well, you know what? It's not a big deal. It's just a magazine targeted to black people. What's the big deal, Until everything is equal, we're going to always have stuff like that. There are people who said that, and some of them were white. I mean, a few of them were white. And I commend them for that, because I'm glad they understood. But unfortunately, there's people on there who just didn't get it, and they were just constantly questioning, oh, but Ebony magazine is racist. And I'm, asking them, well, how are you going to call Ebony a racist magazine because it's mostly targeted to black people when there's other magazines just like that? You have magazines for Hispanic people, magazines for Jewish people, magazines for white people, magazines for Asian people, magazines, I guess, even for some Native Americans, I believe. But I'm just saying, and even TV shows are targeted to people based on race. And it's not just BET. And that's another thing I want to get into, but let me fall back for a second. And this person is well, I have a problem with them too, but it's just this magazine in particular, blah, 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 blah. I mean, I'm just what's the big deal? It seems oh, never mind all the other people of other races who have their own thing, but when it comes to us black folks, we just can't do whatever we want to do. Shh. Alright, we can't celebrate our own culture, It's considered racist because we're, we leaving out, a whole bunch of other races? Dude. I sometimes watch the Spanish channel, and I don't necessarily expect, a lot of black people to be on there. I mean, I read, about, people of other races, in certain magazines, and I don't necessarily expect black people to be on there. So what's the big deal? I'm not getting mad about it because they're talking about their own culture, and I don't have a problem with that. That's their culture. I'm not gonna whine about the fact that I don't see any black people on there. So, I tried to explain to this person the reason why Ebony is around, was there, is because of how black people were discriminated and they couldn't be in any magazines by white people, so they ended up making their own magazine. What's the big deal? And this person just kept going on and on, like, yeah, but it's discriminating against white people, and, it's not like, racist, times are not like that anymore. Oh, please, you still got racist people running around here. How you can, if you don't think that there's not racism out there, then why did a 30-year-old black man got shot 4 times and then had his body dragged by a truck, like a pickup truck, for like a couple of miles? Can you explain that? Oh yeah, the person didn't happen to be white. So if that's not racism, then I don't know what is. So anyway, let me get back to what I was saying. So then, all of a sudden, they show Prince. Like, Prince later on attended the BET Awards. And mind you, I don't watch BET, and I only watch BET Awards because he was going to be on there. So anyway, afterwards, some ignorant person, decided to, like, start some, a thread about, in this day and age, we have BET, but we don't have a WET. What is that supposed to mean? You do realize that, the majority of the television, television is mostly white anyway, so what's the big deal? Why are you discriminating against BET? It's a channel for black people. They're a minority. They need something to celebrate, And then it's like, why get on BET when there's other channels that targets people based on race? Alright, that just gets on my nerves. But no, when it comes to us black folks, we can't have anything, apparently. It's like we have to have permission from white people to have whatever we want to have. So anyway, I start telling this person, like, well, you need to, like, before you start, ignorant, like, threads or topics like this, you need to do some research before you say stuff like that, because the person on there, he was from England, but at the same time, not too long ago they did have a BET there. They added BET there, but I'm saying, like, if he was gonna start threads like this, he should have did some research. And you know what's even funnier? This guy claims that he's married to a black American woman, and he has a child by this, woman. And it's like, well, I think it's a little weird how he could have been at least a little more sympathetic about the whole situation of having BET, but apparently he wasn't. So then I'm asking him, like, how old are you? And, I'm like 30 years old. I was like, are you serious? And you're acting like this? And then he's all talking about, what do I need to learn about black culture when I have a fucking black kid? And he was actually saying this. And I'm like, are you serious? Do you know how ignorant you sound? You sound like an ignoramus. And I'm like, if you're going to start, as I said before many times, trying to emphasize this to the person, if you're going to start topics like this, you need to do some research, because it's obvious you don't understand the origins of BET. I don't like BET, but I will defend it when people start saying crap about it being a separatist channel or it's discriminating against white people. And to me, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, because it's not, and it's not keeping white people from watching it, or any other race for that matter. White people and other races can watch that channel too, alright? So then he starts, like, the person later on starts just spewing his obvious racism among the thread, and eventually, and you know what the crazy thing is? I ended up getting banned from 2 weeks from that, from the website. I don't even know why. I even asked them why, and they were all talking about I wrote something inappropriate. Inappropriate like what? I didn't even write anything bad. I don't even know why I got banned exactly. And then, when I did come back, it turned out the guy who was there, he got banned. I think he probably got banned, like, permanently. And I was just like, wow, well, you know what, the OP pretty much ran the hell out of that thread. But anyway, my point is that in general, is that it's funny how we're on this website and there's many races of people on there who like Prince. And it's just funny how when Prince is featured in 2 black magazines and then going to the BET Awards, you got some white people on there actually showing their true racist colors and saying all this mess and pretty much seeming, saying like, what, like, oh my god, like, why is he on there and stuff like that. I mean, it seems like people don't seem to realize that Prince is black and he's not what you think he was before. I mean, you do realize he just said that, he made up those, those things about him being biracial was a lie. He really wasn't. He just did that just for, PR reasons. And Prince has long acknowledged that he was a black man. And you know what? Some people need to accept that.